Hi everyone, I'm Tony, the training manager at Inon, and today we're going to be looking at this fellow here, the error you get when you try and log into your local device using the browser, and we're going to look at how we can fix it, how we can automatically trust the certificate there. So the first thing to understand is why this error comes up. It tells you the certificate authority is invalid. It does tell you about the certificate, so I've got one that's, the subject of this certificate is Niagara 4, which wasn't what I typed in on the address bar, so it's not going to like that. The issue was also Niagara 4, which means that it was signed by itself, and which means that all of these things are not liked by the browser. So we need to be able to sign the certificate. We'll set up a certifying authority to do that. And we need to create a new server certificate that is actually valid that actually has the addresses of my machine in there so I can actually connect to it. Okay, so let's go to Tools, Certificate Management in Workbench. Tools Certificate Management is different from the certificate management that you see when you go to the platform. This is the certificates that Workbench has access to. Now, this is going to be where we'll make a certifying authority. This means that we can sign other certificates with it. There are shortcuts to do this in Niagara, but this is sort of a breakdown of how it works, knife and fork style. So we click New here. We give this an alias of, I don't know, Tony CA. It's going to want a distinguished name, but it doesn't actually need one. The distinguished name is going to be useful when we create the private certificate, because that's how we know, our browser will check what we tried to connect to versus what was in the certificate. And we need this in here. For the CA certificate, not needed. Well, we want to fill in some of this just so that we know what it's about. Okay. We can give it lots of extra time. So let's go for 10 years time. And we're going to want to make sure it's Certifying Authority certificate, a CA, and click OK on that. Needs a password. Put in one that you'll remember, because you will need that when you come to use this to sign other certificates. And we're ready to go. So we've got a CA certificate. We want to export that because we want to import this. Basically, a certifying authority is on the internet. It's a body that can sign all sorts of certificates. For us, it's just going to sign our local certificates. So we're making our own one. Let's export this so that we have a copy of it. We want the public certificate. We don't want the private key. The private key is used to sign the certificate. What we're doing here is we're exporting a public version so that we can tell our browser what to trust. We're going to put this into the user home under Cert Management, because for some reason this view doesn't do that automatically. Now, on the platform of the server, I'm going to go into the certificate management. Under user trust store, I'm going to import that Tony CA PM. I'm going to delete these other ones I don't need. So putting this into the user trust store tells the platform that it can accept certificates that have been signed by it. So we've got our own CA. We've imported it into the user trust store. We'll do the same thing in the browser. So if I go back to here, click on the button in the top, go to settings. This is Chrome. Obviously, there'll be a similar thing in whatever browser you're using. I like to start typing in certificates because then it finds it a bit quicker than if I was to look. So under security, under manage certificates down here. Traditionally, you go to manage imported certificates from Windows. I'm going to try out the Google Chrome one installed by you. So let's go for trusted certificates. Click on import. We then have to find that file we just created, which will be under Niagara, under the newest version of Niagara usually. Workbench user home, cert management, Tony CA, there he is. So we've done two things. So we've made the CA certificate, we've told the browser to trust it, we've told Workbench to trust it, and we've told the actual platform to trust it. Okay, so that's part one. Part two is that we need a signed certificate for the browser and the platform's trust. So again, going back to Workbench, certificate management, make a new certificate. Now, it's going to be important that we put in, so the alias, the alias is just a name for this certificate, common name, and alternate server name. These are important. So the common name needs to match an address that we can actually access this resource from. So even if this is my local host, I'm going to want to actually have the computer name and or the IP. So to find those, if you're not familiar with the process, we go to the start menu, go to command. Obviously, this is all Windows centric. If you're not using Windows, you probably know how to do this. So ipconfig, find your IP address. In my case, it's this one that's connected to the in-on network. And we want the host name. So literally type in host name, click enter. This laptop happens to be named after me because it's the company laptop. So people know what this is. Back to my certificate. Tony Hardwick was my name. I'm going to put that in as a common name. And for the alternate server name, I'm going to put in the IP address. Now, I know that's not a name, but these give me two options to connect to my device. This is a server certificate. It's going to want the extra bits filled in. So, in my case, GB and inon. Click OK. It's going to want another password. This should be different from the password that you created for the CA certificate. Or you can use the global certificate password. That can save you a lot of time. Basically, that just allows this platform to use these certificates without needing to know the password. What I now have is a certificate for my server to use that it actually has a subject in there that I can use to access it. To prove this, I can go back to here, and I should be able to type in HTTPS and then that host name, which was my name in this case, and it will do the same thing. So I haven't actually fixed the certificate yet. I'm just proving that this works the same as localhost in this case. Same thing for the IP. Yes. Okay, so we've got a server certificate. We need it to be signed. That was the other reason why the browser couldn't trust it. And we've got a CA certificate that we can use to sign it with. Let's go to cert request. Ignore the fact that it's upset that I didn't fill in all the details. And I'm going to save it in the same place. So this is in cert management under the user home. And then I'm going to sign this certificate. So to do that, this is back up in tools, but this time we're going to certificate signer tool. This is quite straightforward. You should just click open, should go to where I saved that certificate signing request. Click OK. Down here, it's going to ask me which CA I want to sign with. It's only got the one, obviously. Have to remember my password for the Certifying Authority certificate. Click OK. TonyLaptopServer.pem. Yeah, save that in there. And then, it'll dump me back to my local host's platform. All I need to do is click import and import that server certificate. Private key encryption password. If you put in a password for the server certificate, put that in. If you just clicked use global certificate password, you can tick that. And what will happen is that the shield would switch from yellow to green, and you've got a signed certificate. There is one last thing we need to do in Niagara to use that certificate. So if we go to the station, config, services, web service, and down here somewhere, main HTTPS cert, we just change that to Tony Laptop Server, use global certificate password, save, refresh, and then check under here to make sure that the server certificate is okay. So we got server certificate health. That's okay. If we Alt-Tab now to the browser, hit enter, then we suddenly have a login. Same thing for... Now remember, I didn't tell it to automatically trust this or anything. But because the browser had... Ignore the fact that mine's using certificates also to sign into the station. What you've got here is we've got a browser that knows about our CA, and our CA has signed the certificate for the local host. So when we log into when we try to connect using one of the two addresses that we had in the server certificate, it will automatically trust that certificate and put you through to the login page as normal. So the things that we did, we set up a certifying authority. This is just a local certifying authority, and we'll only, we need to share that CA certificate with any other browser that we want to automatically trust it. we set up a server certificate. So you have to make sure that you're using a name that you can access the device from. Localhost shouldn't really work. You can try that if you want, but localhost will be different. If you connect through a browser on another PC, it's going to be a different localhost. So it's not good practice to do that, but you can give it a try. Shouldn't work, but it probably will. The proper way of doing it is to put in, the IP address and or the server name. Server name would be preferred. Sign that certificate with the CA certificate and make sure that the station is then using that for communication. This will also work for the Fox service, but you would need to change it. If I go back to Workbench, you would need to change it under the Fox service instead, and it's Fox cert instead of main web cert. Okay. Thanks guys for watching. Hope that gets you started with setting up automatic trusting of certificates. I shall speak to you soon.